Hi, everybody, and welcome to Good Day Arlington, live on NBC Sports Chicago. I'm Howard Sudberry, live with Alyssa Ali, live from this set as we are every Saturday morning at 11:30. And think about it, the NBA is over. I think it was over from the beginning that it started with the Warriors being so dominant. The NHL is over with the Capitals winning the NHL, the Stanley Cup. But there is a huge event going on today. It would have been too big to me no matter what else was going on, Alyssa. But we have a Triple Crown bid later on this afternoon.
Yeah, you know, Howard, we waited 37 years for American Pharoah to win the Triple Crown in 2015. So it's exciting to see if maybe just in 3 years we're going to have another Triple Crown winner. Justify is going for the third leg of the Triple Crown. That is the Belmont Stakes run in Elmont, New York. It'll be, you can watch and wager here at Arlington and today, but I'm very excited. I don't know, though, do you think it takes like the excitement a little bit out of it that we didn't wait 37 years, now we're just waiting 3?
No, I think it's tremendously exciting. Anytime you have a horse going for the Triple Crown, it's so hard to do. You forget about all the times that horses missed.
Sure.
So now people saw American Pharoah win, they think it's easy.
Yeah.
But is everybody fired up?
No.
I don't think so. There was really something interesting on television caught our eye. In the last week, comedian Jim Gaffigan did an essay on a national TV show last weekend, and it wasn't too well received, I think, to say the least, by a lot of people that are avid horse racing fans. Here's a sample.
Every spring as a nation, we track the 3 races of the Triple Crown. And every spring, I always have the same thought. Wait, we're still doing this? We're shown an image of the winning horse. They could show us a picture of any horse. We wouldn't know any better. I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with this news. It's not like we're going to bump into this horse in a bar. Oh my gosh, did you win the Kentucky Derby? I did. I won the Kentucky Derby because I'm a horse and I'm in a bar celebrating my victory. Pictured next to the winning horse is the happy owner of the horse. Of course, the owner of the horse did not train the horse, did not ride the horse, and based on body language has never really met the horse. But there the owner stands, usually dressed like the Monopoly man for some reason. There's always an interview with the jockey. The jockey usually provides valuable insight into the race strategy. How did you do it? Well, I whipped the horse and then it ran.
You know, horse racing fans, as I said, they went absolutely crazy on Twitter, ripping Jim Gaffigan for this. One line that he talked about the Kentucky Derby that I thought was really funny was that the Kentucky Derby is prom for gamblers. Now, to me, what the heck? If you know, it would be worse if nobody was talking about the Triple Crown. I think he's a funny guy. I didn't think that was all that funny, but I wasn't offended by it in the least.
I wasn't offended by it, but I didn't think it was funny at all. And like it wasn't like I did not laugh at any, and I would laugh like there's plenty of things you can laugh at about horse racing. Makes like some comedic jokes about, but he completely missed, I think.
I thought that he did too, but you know, prom for gamblers, I think for the Derby is kind of funny.
That's not funny because like it's like people don't come just to gamble.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, horse racing is an experience. That's what Arlington is, especially.
Right.
It's an experience.
I
But you know
like
what? Keep this in mind. The guy's a comedian. I think he missed the mark, but he might be the biggest horse racing fan in the world. You don't know. It's an act.
Maybe he can come to Arlington. And we'll make him a horse racing fan.
He's definitely invited.
I kind of liked the horse part, though. Like, you're not going to see a horse at the bar. That is a difficult part about horse racing, is that the stars of the sport, you know, you can kind of follow them on Twitter if they're owners, you know, make them an account. So I did kind of get that point.
Or there are some stars of the sport that are the jockeys, like Mike Smith right now, who's going to try to win today on Justified.
Total miss I
agree, but I mean, I'm not that upset about it.
But you know, to maybe enlighten folks that are watching, and maybe Jim will see this too, but let's take a look at some Triple Crown comparisons to really prove how hard it is. And he said at the beginning of that bite, why are we caring about this? We still care about this? Of course we care about this. This is a very, very difficult feat for owners and connections to even get close to winning the Triple Crown. I mean, look at this one here. Mike Smith has been a jockey for 36 years. We were talking about athletes there. Compared to other athletes in other sports, Tom Brady for 18 years, our good friend Eddie Olczyk, 16 years, Mike Smith, 36 years, making weight, being fit, and being that age, and it's a very demanding sport.
It is. He is 52 years old now, and we talked to him. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago by phone after we won the Derby, and he talked about how hard he has to work out. But you're looking at all these years. You're talking about there was a 37-year gap before American Pharoah did it. So it is if not the toughest feat in sport.
Yeah, and take a look at this next graphic. That'll probably
okay.
going to prove your point exactly right. And there are other Triple Crowns, right? We're talking about the horse racing Triple
Yes.
Crown. That's only been won 12 times. I think the big thing, obviously, is that a horse only has one try to do it. They can only do it as a 3-year-old.
Well, yeah, that's what's cool about the Triple Crown, and it's what's cool about the Kentucky Derby particularly. To be a Derby winner, if a horse gets a virus 2 weeks out, if they miss training, they're done. They get one shot as a 3-year-old, because I've had so many people that don't follow horse racing ask me, why didn't California Chrome run in the Derby the next year? Well, Derby means 3, so I think this graphic just shows how hard it is to win the Triple Crown, and it stacks up with the feats in other sports.
Yeah, it's going to be pursued through multiple years. So to long story short, I guess, Jimmy Gaffigan, we do care about the Triple Crown. And horse racing is awesome.
We do, and he is a funny guy. He just wasn't that funny on there, but he might not be a fan of me. So what the heck? Wouldn't be a small group.
I was going to say it, but I'm glad you did.
We mentioned some of the other sports. We still have the Cubs to keep our eyes on, and Fred Hubner has our Sports Center update from the ESPN 1000 studios in Chicago.
Yoo-hoo! Mike Montgomery filling in the starting rotation for the injured Yu Darvish through his third straight quality outing as the Cubs beat the Pirates 3-1 for their third straight win. Chris Bryant with 3 hits from the leadoff spot. Ian Happ with 3 circus catches in left field, including 1 to end the contest. Cubs just a half game back of Milwaukee in the NL Central. John Lester starts this afternoon. In Boston, Dylan Covey outpitched former White Sox lefty Chris Sale as the White beat the Red 1-0. Covey went 6 innings of 3 hit balls, striking out 7. Trace Thompson, the 7th inning RBI single. Carlos Rodon expected to make his 2018 pitching debut this afternoon. The Golden State Warriors are the NBA champs for the 3rd time in 4 seasons after a blowout 108-85 win over Cleveland. In soccer, the Chicago Fire host the New England Revolution tonight at 7:30 at Toyota Park. And at Belmont Park, Justify goes for the Triple Crown. From the ESPN 1000 Sports Desk, I'm Fred Hubner.
All right, Freddie. Fred Hubner does a great job. We should have had Jim Gaffigan pitch in.
We should have.
Yeah.
We didn't reach out.
Yeah,
What were we
didn't.
thinking?
I don't know what we were thinking. What do you think about the weather?
Well, let's take a look at the weather. We had quite a few heavy storms roll through yesterday evening, continued into this morning as well. We're getting to a high of about 72 degrees today. It is partly cloudy, but I do believe the rain is done for the afternoon. So those watching the show, you do have time to come out to Arlington here today. Our gates open at noon, and our first race is at 1:20. Again, you can watch the Belmont Stakes here at Arlington, of course. Place your wager on the Belmont as well.
Yeah, 9 live races, and like we said, plenty of time to hop in the car and come on out, and the weather's going to be okay this afternoon. And first race, 1:20. What about social media?
Yeah,
what do we got going on?
We want to hear from you on social, and our question is, what would you do if you won the Triple Crown? Big question. We're going to hear from you. Make sure to tweet us at Arlington_Park, and we'll talk about it at the last end of the show. Also, you can enter to win some Chicago White Sox tickets by visiting arlingtonpark.com/GDA.
I love going down to Sox Park.
Oh, me
It's
too.
a very nice ballpark. They have terrific food there, and you'll see some stars of the future, we hope. We're going to take a break right now. Our first break on Good Day Arlington, and it is brought to you in part by Tito's Handmade Vodka, the preferred vodka of Arlington International Racecourse, and by Miller Lite, who brings you the Arlington Miller Lite Friday Party in the Park, and the Mug Club. For more, visit arlingtonpark.com. And coming up next, a visit with a sports and Chicago legend who also happens to be a real horse racing expert, Denis Savard, coming up next on Good Day Arlington. Welcome back live on Good Day Arlington on NBC Sports Chicago. You know, Alyssa, we were talking about earlier, so many celebrities, so many show business people, so many athletes are huge horse racing fans.
Yeah, Jim Gaffigan's not in that list, but...
We don't know that.
Well, but it's fun. Eddie Olczyk, Coach Quenville, Mike Ditka, Johnny Morris, even going back in history, right, like Bing Crosby as well, just huge horse racing fans, along with being celebrities.
And we left one out, and that is our good friend, NHL Hall of Famer Denis Savard, who's been playing horses for years, and I visited with him a few days ago.
Well, I love the game. Obviously, it's, I've owned horses throughout my life, so, it's a great hobby. A lot of people say it's an expensive hobby. It is somewhat, but if you, go within your means, and I think you'll be able to enjoy the game. I know for me, been around the game for over 30 years now. I really like it. So I'm blessed that I've had some good horses and some not so good, but the overall picture, when you look at everything, it's about entertainment, it's about fun. It's a great thrill to see a horse coming down the stretch, getting to the lead or having the lead. So it's a great game. It's a game, it's a puzzle that you have to figure out every day, every race, and especially with the Belmont coming up, and obviously you guys have the Arlington Million coming as well here in August. These are fun races to really bet and also try to figure out that puzzle. It's very confusing. It's not that easy, but it's something I enjoy doing.
Well, you're right. We all do. And you mentioned the key word, the thrill. When you're trying to figure out the puzzle, and they're coming down the stretch and you have a chance and it looks like you might get it right, it's hard to match the adrenaline rush, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fun. Whether you're a horse owner or a guy that bets the particular race that you're betting on, it's fun to say that I figured this one out, and they're tough to figure out. I mean, we all know horses, a different day, they may run the race, they may not, and that's why this race, the Belmont, and even the Arlington Million, when it comes up in August, you may be thinking your horse is doing really well, but you never know. A lot of things could happen in the course of a race. Whether you get left, you could get blocked, you could get, bump at the start. So there's a lot of, stuff that goes on that you have to look, as you're handicapping a form. Obviously, you don't expect to see bumps or getting stopped, but that happens. Especially in a big field. Like the Derby this year is obviously 20 horses every year. Looks like the Belmont will have a 12-field horse. So it'll be interesting. I just enjoy the game of it, and I love the part that I could try to figure out the puzzle. I hope I could figure out more at times, but hey, it's part of the game.
I like what Savvy talked about there with the puzzle of a horse race, trying to figure it out. That's the cool part, but you don't have to play the puzzle game. You can just pick a name. If that horse wins, you're going to have a huge thrill.
Yeah, absolutely. If it means something to you, and there's horses named after, different people's names, or Harry Potter, whatever it may be. But the one thing he didn't answer, Howard, I was listening very closely, is who he likes in the Belmont Stakes. Does he think Justify's going to win?
That's coming up right now. So
okay.
Why don't we take a break on Good Day Arlington, live here on NBC Sports Chicago. And right now it is brought to you by the Daily Herald, the very best in local news coverage. And a Den of Girls in Barrington is the first group in the area to join the Boy Scouts organization. Read about it in Sunday's Daily Herald. And up next, Alyssa gets her question answered. Denis Savard's pick for today's Belmont Stakes. You know what you just said to me? You're up, Ron. Ron Burgundy. Who found that footage and put it on without asking me?
I think
Tony, were you in on it?
I think Ron Burgundy was literally like created after like watching you. You look exactly like him.
I highly doubt it.
I don't know. You might want to investigate that.
Anyway, we've got 70s.
Get some royalties.
We've got 70s Day coming up here at Arlington, right?
Coming up on June 23rd. We're looking forward to it.
We have themed events every weekend at Arlington, and you can find out more at arlingtonpark.com. All right, more with Denis Savard, and he's going to tell us who's going to win the Belmont.
I think he'll be the 13th Triple Crown winner, in my opinion. And the reason I say this, going a mile and a half now, whether, he gets to the lead, I think I'm just, again, Todd Pletcher has two horses in there. He's got Noble Indy and Vinny Russo. I'm going to guess that Noble Indy will try to get to the lead, even though he's outside of Justify. And Justify doesn't necessarily need to lead. He could sit second on the outside of him. Going a mile and a half, I think the fractions are going to be softer than they were in the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby, especially the Derby 45 and 111. So much fast fractions. So I strongly believe that he's going to be tough again. I predict that he will be the 13th horse to win the Triple Crown. There's a few challengers in there in Offberg. I think Offberg, Billy Mott's horse, is a good horse. A decent race in the Derby. Got steady twice on the track. Bravazzo, as you said, came and closed fast. But we knew that Mike Smith at the race won. He had his hands pretty quiet on Justify at the end there. So, yeah, we'll see. You could never leave a Todd Pletcher horse out. Noble Indy, Vinny Russo, he's a great trainer. Del Romans is one of those guys that in those big races always comes up with a huge race. Doug O'Neill, he's won some huge races himself. So I guess I would say that, Justify, rightly so, will deserve to be the Triple Crown champion. I mean, he's really run some two hard races, and the question I've always asked myself, like I just told you, Howard, and the people listening, is he's had really two hard races, but he's got 3 weeks to get to this point now to Belmont, and believing that I think the fractions are going to be a little softer, and whenever Mike Smith will pull the trigger on him, I think he'll just run away from these guys. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Savvy, we got a good dose of perspective about horse racing and hockey games and life in general in the last year with what Eddie O went through, and we got great news on his health. He had a rough time, but it's sure nice to see him back in the game and feeling great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to see him on television back in the last couple of months, and obviously with the hockey playoffs going on, you get to see him every night, hear his voice every night, so it's good to see it. I know that for a fact that he is doing really well. He looks great, and couldn't have a better friend. And obviously for the people that love hockey and love horse racing, he's really a great example for both of those sports. Eddie was a great player, played hard throughout his whole life, and he's obviously a great announcer on television for hockey and racing, and obviously gives people a lot of winners.
So Savvy goes for Justify in the Belmont Stakes, and we were talking about Eddie O there, and it's great that he's feeling super. I mean, he worked right through his treatments. It was an amazing story. He is healthy again. And what a week he's had. He likes to gamble a little bit. So the Stanley Cup is won in Las Vegas. He did that game. Now he's flying out to watch the Triple Crown run.
Is he doing the broadcast?
Yeah, he is.
That's
definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder what he thinks.
Well,
about Justify.
I think he's
if he
picking,
agrees with Denis.
I think he's picking Justify to win. But he said that when American Pharoah won, that was the most exciting sporting event that he had ever attended.
That's amazing.
So that's pretty cool.
It's kind of like the rooting for, betting against, maybe?
That's probably
Perhaps.
true, but I usually root for who I bet on and forget about the history. So we'll take a break right now on Good Day Arlington, live on NBC Sports Chicago. And this portion is brought to you by our friends at International Hair Designs in Lake Zurich, the official hair and makeup artists of Good Day Arlington. They're great at what they do. Just ask their loyal customers since 1979. And up next, many have tried and failed, but when it happens, it's magic. A look at past Triple Crown winners and bids up next. And welcome back to Good Day Arlington, live on NBC Sports Chicago, live every Saturday morning, right here live from Arlington from now until the end of September. Alyssa?
September 22nd.
Yes.
I don't want it to fly.
No question about it.
One day
Well,
at a time.
Time does fly by. A dozen have done it, and many have won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and then failed. Many of the ones that lost the third leg were really great horses, Alyssa, if you look at them. California Chrome, we thought he was going to do it. Maybe the best of the non-Triple Crown winners, in my opinion, was Spectacular Bid. Now we take a closer look at some that became legends and those that showed us just how tough it is to sweep all three.
It was beginning to seem impossible in modern racing, or at the very least, improbable. When American Pharoah powered through the stretch to the thrills of the crowd to win the first Triple Crown in 37 years, the racing world was buzzing, and non-racing fans noticed. Now, Justify is back and is being compared to American Pharoah. No doubt he's a special horse, probably the best of this crop, but that doesn't mean much when it comes to the Belmont. It has a way of stopping great horses in their tracks. There was Smarty Jones, who gave a gallant effort to be did in by the 1.5-mile distance. There was California Chrome, the popular, modestly bred California bred that took the country by storm, but couldn't take the Belmont. It seems the Triple Crowns come in bunches. In 1973, there was the mighty Secretariat, ending a 25-year Triple Crown drought. He won by a staggering 31 lengths, faster than any horse before or since. Now, just 4 years later, Seattle Slew went into the Belmont unbeaten and came out that way, the first and only unbeaten horse to win the Triple Crown. The very next year, Affirmed came along, and through the Triple Crown had 3 hard-fought battles with Alydar. He won them all, creating one of racing's great rivalries. 3 Triple Crowns in the 70s. Now, will we see 2 in 4 years? Or will Justify become the next California Chrome, Silver Charm, or Spectacular Bid, winning the first 2, and then the air comes out of the balloon? No one knows, and that's why we watch.
And one very interesting note, Seattle Slew was undefeated when he won the Triple Crown, and Justify has a chance to be the same way.
To be the second horse
Yes,
ever, right?
Exactly.
That kind of gave me chills. I'm very excited.
It's very interesting. I mean, there's nothing like it. To me, a Triple Crown in sports, because there have been so few. It's so hard to do, and yet, do you have a pick, by the way?
I'm going to go with Justify.
You are. You're going to go with Justify. All right. I am going to make a stand against him in here. I think he's vulnerable, and it's not just because they were catching him at the end of the Preakness. I think he's the best horse of his generation, but there have been a lot of best horses of their generation get beat in the Belmont, and I'm going to go with a popular pick in here with Hofburg. I think he's got a big chance to win.
I don't blame you one bit.
We'll see what happens. What about social media?
Yeah,
Let's find out.
Yeah, Howard, at the top of the show, we did ask, what would you do if you won the Triple Crown? So we got some lovely answers on Twitter. Let's take a look. Liz said, pay off my student loans. Good one, absolutely. I would run off into the sunset on the horse, and actually, Chad said I would maybe ride off into the sunset on the horse. John said, I would thank every single owner and gambler for making it possible to run. Remember, folks, without either, this sport is gone. Okay. And also Howard Sudberry, I would co-host Good Day Arlington. If you won the Triple Crown, you would come back next weekend and co-host with me?
That's what I do, so I would be here.
That's pretty
nice.
Because
you would be absolutely lost without me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, you're so funny today. Jim Gaffigan could learn from you.
At least in my mind, I am. All I try to do is entertain myself, Alyssa.
I think you do.
What's next?
Well,
I'd be lost without you because I don't know where we're going.
I really think it's vice versa. We talked about our picks on the Belmont Stakes. Just a reminder again for our audience, you can watch and wager on the Belmont Stakes here at Arlington. Our first live race is at 1:20. We have 2 stakes races on today's card. We're going to take a look at the 7th race. I do believe we picked a horse. It's our Sudberry versus Ali, but I believe we landed on the same horse, so not so much of a versus. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know who you landed on, but my pick in here is One Liz. The the race has been moved to our main track off the turf. This horse is 5 for 6 on synthetic tracks. It's a small field, but a very tough field. But my pick is one, Liz. I see yours is as well.
Yeah, same. You know, when we found out it was off the turf, has great synthetic form. So great racing on today's card here live at Arlington Belmont Stakes between our 8th and 9th watch and wager here at Arlington. Howard, though, next weekend, a lot going on. We start by having Party in the Park on a Friday, and then it's Jockey Appreciation Day and the post-racing Jockey Jog 5K on Saturday the 16th. And then Father's Day is Sunday, June 17th. There are some tickets still available. Howard, Father's Day, a huge tradition. You got to get Dad. One of the best gifts, I think, in my mind, would be a day at the races here.
There's no doubt about it. We have our big days out here. I mean, Mother's Day is so popular. Father's Day popular because Dad can come out. He can try and figure out the puzzle like Denis Savard talked about and pick a couple winners. And have a cold beverage or two, and the kids can go play.
Absolutely. So a lot going on next weekend. But let's take a look. Let's check in with track announcer John G. Dooley for a sneak peek of next week.
Next week on Good Day Arlington, Howard and Alyssa welcome Jockey and Dad, Julio Felix, as they discuss riding kids and career milestones. Plus, Good Day Arlington features what a typical morning, afternoon, and evening is like for the human athletes of the sport, the jockeys.
So, once again, we have the Belmont Stakes. You can watch and wager out here at Arlington. First race is at 1:20. First of 9 live races here at Arlington. And then later on, the Belmont Stakes as Justified tries to run his way into history. So a lot going on out here. You can have your pockets bulging with money before you get to the Belmont Stakes, Alyssa.
Yeah, you can. You're right. Just kind of start handicapping, and then we're going to figure out what's going on with the Belmont Stakes. Howard, you're betting against and rooting against, you did admit that, Justify in the Belmont Stakes. I'm rooting for Justify. I learned my lesson with American Pharoah in 2015.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people are paying attention to that, but look at all the ones before that. But I think it's set up to be the favorite in here. We'll find out what happens with the Belmont a little bit later on. That's going to do it for this week's Good Day Arlington. I'm Howard Sudberry with Alyssa Ali, and we'll see you next Saturday right here live at 11 o'clock on NBC Sports Chicago.